Buzz. Today we have Amy Brinken here with the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra, and she's here to tell us a little bit about what they're doing and the new involvement that they have in the city of Jacksonville. So I know, what is your position with the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra?
Hi, Taylor. I'm the Director of Public Relations, so I'm really in charge of communicating to media and to patrons and to the community about what the symphony is up to, who's involved in the symphony. So I've been in the position not all that long. I joined the end of June 2015. And it's been really a delightful job. I've had a long career in Jacksonville and great organization to be with and a lot of fun people to work with.
So what made you actually get involved in get this position? What inspired you?
Well, I had been a consultant to a number of nonprofits. I've worked in the public relations industry for a long, long time. I've been in Jacksonville 36 years. And the David Pearson, who was the former president of the symphony, asked me to help him out with a number of things. And what really started it all was when the symphony started to look for a new music director when Fabio Macchetti, the former music director, was leaving the orchestra. So I interviewed and worked with all the different candidates that they interviewed and helped do media relations for them, and then worked when they selected Courtney Lewis as the music director and helped introduce him to Jacksonville. So that was just a fun experience, and like they say in the movie, the symphony made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So while I still consult with a couple other nonprofits, I spend the bulk of my week with the symphony.
Well, that's great. So it kind of just fell in your lap.
It did, but it just, as I said, I've been in Jacksonville for a long time, 36 years, and we were patrons of the symphony, so we always knew it to be a wonderful organization. I am not a professional musician, though I did take 9 years of piano lessons, and my daughter was a musical theater major, but so it's kind of fun to work with people that have that kind of background, and at this point in my career, it's all about having fun and doing good for the community, and that sums up the Jacksonville Symphony.
Well, speaking of the community, what can people in the city of Jacksonville get involved and support you guys, and what do you do?
Well, there's a number of ways that you can get involved and support. For example, if you're a young professional like you are, we have a young professionals group called Uptempo, and they get together and go to certain concerts, and then afterwards get to go out with musicians or the music director and go to fun microbreweries and have a good time. So that's one thing to do. Obviously, you can buy tickets or you can donate to our cause. I mean, ticket prices alone don't cover the cost of putting the orchestra on stage. So we're very appreciative of our supporters. There's, for example, right now we're doing a campaign called Rock the Glockenspiel. And as most people know, a glockenspiel is kind of an instrument you see with people playing, the bars with mallets, and we need a new glockenspiel. So we're doing a crowdfunding campaign, and if you give $10 or more, you get to go to the Rock the Glockenspiel party, which will be, I believe, May 16th or 15th, whatever the Monday is in May, and you'll get to play a glockenspiel. You'll get to meet some of our percussion members in the orchestra. So there's fun things like that. Or you can come next year to our Symphony in 60. Those are 1-hour presentations that typically start at 6 p.m. on a Thursday night. Our music director, Courtney Lewis, starts out by explaining what you're going to hear. Then the orchestra plays the piece, and there's giant video screens over the orchestra so you could see exactly what the oboe guy is doing back there. And it's a lot of fun. And then you can have your drink in Jacoby Hall. And then afterwards, you can get another drink and go on stage and have your picture taken with conductor's baton, meet Courtney Lewis, meet the musicians, or meet your friends. So it's kind of like a social happy hour with some music thrown in. So that'll be next year. We're going to do 4 of them. Our season will start up again the end of September. So if people go to jacksymphony.org, they can see when those concerts are scheduled. So there's lots of ways to be involved. And we also look for ushers. We have volunteer ushers who help people find their seats and hand out the encore programs. And we love to have anybody, go through the training and be a volunteer. You get to listen to music for free. So.
I think that it's really cool that you are with the 60 minutes. I think that it's awesome that you're actually explaining to people what they're doing, what the musicians are doing behind the scenes, and how they can kind of get a feel for everything, and that it's being explained. Because I know sometimes I'm not a musician either, so when I go to watch a performance, I would like to see it from the other perspective.
Right, and this was Courtney's idea. When he was an assistant conductor at the Minneapolis Orchestra, they started doing these Symphony and 60 programs. And it's really a great way for people who may feel like, well, I don't understand symphonic music, or I don't want to go without my friends, or I can't really afford an expensive ticket. It's a reasonably priced ticket, includes a drink, and you get to sit with your friends. It's all general admission. But you also get to talk to the musicians and Courtney afterwards and find out, you know, these are really cool people. They're really interesting. They're really friendly. They have a lot of interests, and they're really passionate and dedicated to all kinds of music. For example, our concertmaster, Philip Pan, he performs in the group Canary in a Coal Mine. So there's a lot of different kind of music genres that go on in their background.
So how many performances do you have throughout the season or throughout the year?
Oh my gosh, I can't even begin. It's to think. It's 35 weeks of performances.
Oh, wow.
Our season will be coming to an end the end of May, so people can still purchase tickets for our final masterworks, which is Beethoven's Ninth, which is Ode to Joy. Most people know Ode to Joy, and that's a big production with the orchestra, our chorus, which is also volunteer and another way people can get involved. Guest artists, guest performers will be joining us to sing the Ode to Joy, and so that's like May 20th, 21st, and 22nd. And then we're going down to the St. Augustine Amphitheater on the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend to perform with Wilson Phillips. So then everybody has kind of their summer ideas of what they're doing. Then we all come back together the end of September, and September 30th we'll start our season again, which is 35 weeks, and we're going to open with The Rite of Spring, Igor Stravinsky piece of music that I'm sure a lot of people know, even if they don't know the name. It's very famous.
So when it comes to creating these different performances and different pieces, does the audience have a say, and do they get to kind of suggest what they would like to hear?
Well, we haven't gotten to that point yet. The people who have the biggest say are clearly Robert Massey, our president, and Courtney Lewis, our music director. And that's music director, conductor, that's what Courtney does. So there's a lot of different things that work into creating a program. For example, can't have 5 hours of music. That would wear everybody out. So you have to make sure that the music you put together fits in the time frame. Also, Courtney usually puts together pieces that have some kind of relation, whether it's a theme, not necessarily the same conductor, but perhaps an underlying theme to the music, or juxtaposes the music with something totally different. For example, he's going to juxtapose Beethoven's Ninth Ode to Joy with a modern composer's piece, someone who's written it in the 20th century. So, so there's a lot that goes into it.
So I know you mentioned modern, and I know that you were also in First Coast Magazine with
Right.
the musicians being under 40. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think people, I'm not sure if people realize that kind of we're taking a new direction in the last couple of years, and there are a lot of young people and young musicians involved in the orchestra. We have 20 members of the orchestra. We have 54 members of the orchestra. We have 20 members who are age 40 or younger, and of course our conductor, our music director, Courtney Lewis, he's 32, and our assistant conductor, Nathan Aspinall, is 26.
Wow.
Yeah, so a lot of people think I'm their mother, but so there's a lot of young people, there's a lot of young excitement, there's just, it's definitely what we call a new direction, so.
So how have you seen that change the way that the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra has picked their pieces or performances with the people being influenced by a younger generation?
Well, I do think that musicians, really good musicians, always want to raise the bar. So I think that the younger musicians, as well as our more established musicians, are appreciative of someone like Courtney coming in and wanting to raise the bar, performing really difficult pieces or performing pieces that have never been heard in Jacksonville. Next year we're doing something called The Dream of Gerontius, which is extremely popular in England. It's like the English Messiah, but it's hardly ever performed in the United States, but Courtney's going to do that, I believe, in October or November. So I think that it's looking at things from a different angle and wanting to raise the bar, whether it's guest performers, whether it's the performance, whether it's engagement with patrons and subscribers. So,
do you typically, I don't know how this works, but when it comes to selecting new musicians to perform with the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra, how does that process go?
oh, it's a fascinating process. It's double-blind auditions, and a lot of people probably don't realize that. So say we have an opening in our trumpet section. So they will post that, we're looking for a trumpet, and so people have to sign up. They send their resume, whatever. They have to sign up, and then they have to get to Jacksonville on the allotted days. And then we put a giant screen up on stage, and so you cannot see who's behind the screen. Could be me behind the screen, and then they'll ask the musician to play a piece that has been picked out in advance. And so then they have a committee, which would include probably some of trumpet players from our orchestra, other people from our orchestra, and of course our music director, Courtney Lewis. And so they have a first round, they have a second round, and then they'll decide if they think someone is good enough for what they're looking for the orchestra. Sometimes they'll have auditions, they won't select anybody. But we don't know who's behind the screen, Could be you, could be me, could be anybody. And so that helps to increase diversity in orchestras, and because certainly we want our orchestra to reflect our community and reflect the great diversity of everybody participating in music.
So what has been your favorite performance through the entirety of you going to the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra and serving there?
It's hard to say about having a favorite. I will, and for example, I went to the Beethoven Piano Concerto on Saturday night, and it was just wonderful. And the guest artist, the pianist, was just wonderful. And I'm looking forward to all Gershwin because they're going to be playing Rhapsody in Blue. That's not this weekend, the end of April. It's first weekend in May. But I think that what was my favorite was when I was listening to all the guest conductors who were vying to be our music director, and I heard Courtney Lewis conduct Rachmaninoff, and we had a guest pianist. And after, it was a beautiful piece of music, and it was very, very difficult to play. And afterwards, I said to my husband, the orchestra just sounded so incredibly beautiful on that, and I just knew there was something special about Courtney. And so his Rachmaninoff did it for me.
Well, that's great because he got the position, and he's doing a great job right now with directing and things of that nature.
He is, and he's a PR person's delight. He writes a column for the newspaper, and he writes it. I don't write it. And he's just a great communicator on our website. If you click on different concerts, Masterworks concerts, he does videos explaining the background of the music, and he's a wonderful presenter. He's a lot better on video than I'll be here. So he is just extremely talented, very bright.
So where can people go to find out more information about the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra or get tickets?
jacksymphony.org. We posted up a new website just the last couple months, so it's very easy to buy tickets there. If you have any issue, you can always call our ticket office, which is open Monday through Friday and is in the Times Union Center for the Performing Arts. But there's everything on jacksymphony.org. Information about our youth orchestra programs, about getting involved, about up-tempo, about next concerts, about background, about different composers. So we put all our program notes for the Encore magazine on there too. So.
Well, thank you for coming on to the bus today. I had such a great time learning about the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra and seeing that you are putting a modern twist on the way music is portrayed.
Well, thanks for having me, Taylor, and I hope to see you at Jacoby Hall soon.